Nomadland is about a woman who lives in a van and uses it to travel all over the country. It was filmed on location in 7 different states over 4 months. Frances McDormand and Dave Strathairn are the only 2 professional actors in it. The rest are actual nomads or residents of the area that they happen to film in. So it's a fictional documentary. Sure, let's go with that. In 2011, the mine in Empire, Nevada closed and everyone had to move away. So Fern is getting some things out of her storage unit, and I'm guessing these jeans belong to a dead family member that we'll have to be sad about later. And she's driving and singing Christmas songs, so I'm gonna assume it's Christmas time. So she travels around and lives in her van. Get used to it. That's the entire movie. Gee, I wonder who sponsored this movie. Wait, doesn't Amazon have their own studio? Why didn't they just make this? Anyway, she works here as a temporary worker for the holiday season with her friend Linda May. Well, if you ever wanted to know what an Amazon warehouse looks like, here you go. So Linda May is living in a camping ground with her, and Fern is showing her how she fixed up her van and these dishes that her dad gave her as a graduation present in high school. Yeah, these won't cause conflict later. But later, she's in a hardware store and a friend sees her and offers her to stay at her place, but she says no. I really don't know what else to say. This entire movie is her just driving around doing stuff. That night, Linda May tells a story about a time when she was depressed, so she was gonna get drunk and blow herself up with a cigarette and her stove. But she didn't because her dogs were there and she couldn't do that to them. What the hell? Linda May shows a video to Fern about Bob, who came up with this whole van living thing, and he has a boot camp that teaches others how to live this way.
Bob Wells looks just like Santa Claus.
Yeah, he acts like it too. When Fern is getting ready to leave the campsite, she finds a dog that someone had to leave there, and the camp owner offers to let her have him, but she leaves the dog there. Aw, poor doggy. So she leaves to go to the van living boot camp thing. When she gets there, Bob is preaching about the tyranny of the dollar and how society will work you to death and then cast you aside. So he's trying to save people from this with van living. Can I just coin the term van living now? So Fern and Bob are talking, and she tells him that her husband died. Oh, I bet that's whose genes those were. And he tells her how sorry he is and that he thinks her coming here and connecting to nature and a tribe will help her. I'm beginning to think Bob is full of crap. He then starts teaching them how to park somewhere without getting in trouble. Things like intentionally giving yourself a flat tire. Oh, and this is Dave, the only other actual actor in this entire movie. That night, they sing songs and start burning stuff. This guy is making a cult. And now everyone's gone, except for her and Swanky. So Fern is working at a rock shop and meets Derek and gives him a lighter. Yeah, that's it. He's just needed for later. Then she gets a flat tire, and since she doesn't have a spare, she asks Swanky to drive her to town. So Swanky helps her and then starts berating her about it. Wasn't getting a flat tire one of Bob's tips? Swanky's then giving a bunch of stuff away before she leaves, and she starts not feeling well while showing Fern some rocks. She's a 70-year-old woman living outside in a van. I wonder why she has health problems. Well, it turns out she has brain cancer and has less than a year to live. Now I feel kind of bad for that comment. But then Fern gives Swanky a haircut and she leaves. Fern leaves too, does some sightseeing, and then goes into this river to give this movie an R rating. Seriously, her floating naked in this river for 12 seconds is the only reason this movie is rated R. God, the MPA needs a PG-16 rating. Well, now she's working at a campsite somewhere with Linda Sue and happens to run into Dave again. Then they take a tour of the area and Fern just wanders off for some reason, so Dave has to go looking for her.
Find anything interesting? Rocks!
What else are they gonna find out there? I guess Linda May quit her job and goes off to God knows where, and the next day, Fern is cleaning out her car, and Dave comes over, tries to help, and I think those were her special plates. Told you they'd cause problems later. Oh look, now Dave's sick and needs to go to the hospital. It's almost like living in a van is a bad idea. After a bunch of nonsense with Fern and Dave, Dave's son comes and tells him that he's gonna be a grandpa. Yeah, let's just tape your pin on your phone, that's a good idea. So he's gonna go off and see his grandkid. And after a bunch of Fern working and stuff, now her van won't start. And she needs money to fix it, so she calls her sister Dolly and, well, she says no. So she rides a bus and walks to however far her sister's place is, I'm assuming just to guilt trip her. So Dolly's husband and friends are talking about how great the housing market is, and Fern gets mad and basically tells them that they're scamming people. Then George calls her out for living in a van, and it starts this argument. That night, Dolly gives Fern her money, and Fern goes back home. I mean van. Then she just so happens to run into the dude she gave the lighter to earlier and tells him a poem to write to his girlfriend. Aw, he gave her a lighter that you'll never see again. I literally forgot this guy even existed. I don't know why this was necessary. She then goes off to visit Dave and his family, and it turns out Dave is going to stay with his family instead of continuing van living, and offers Fern to stay with him, which she probably should do. So she stays for, I'm assuming, the day. This movie has no sense of time or place. Sleeps in her van instead of the house, and then ditches them the next morning. So she drives off and goes out in a rainstorm and walks on a cliff to the ocean because that's safe. And we're back at Amazon, so it's Christmas time again?
Happy New Year!
Yeah, it's around Christmas time again. And now she's back at the boot camp, and they're throwing rocks into the fire in memory of Swanky, just like she wanted.
Maybe when I die, my friends will gather around the fire and toss a rock into the fire in memory of me.
So Fern is telling Bob about her husband Bo and how she held on to his memory for too long after he died. So Burr tells her about his son who committed suicide and how he didn't want to live without him. So apparently Bob didn't know that Frances McDormand was an actress and thought this story about her husband was real, and started comforting her outside of filming until she told him that the story was fake. So does that mean that his story was real, or like, what the hell? Anyway, we're almost done. So she takes off again and goes back to her storage unit in Empire and tells the owner to sell it all because she's not going to miss any of it. She then goes back to visit the mining factory and their old house. And then she's off on the road again. This movie doesn't have much happening other than Fern just traveling to different places and interacting with the people that she meets, which doesn't make it too interesting to watch and kind of makes it a long runtime. Frances McDormand is pretty good at playing a depressed homeless person, and she does a good job acting constantly exhausted and interacting with the other actors, which really helps the supporting cast considering they're not professional actors but rather just people who happen to live in the area that they were shooting. Even still, they do a great job for not having ever acted before. It makes me kind of wonder how many of the stories and experiences are real. The music and cinematography are fantastic and really set the tone throughout, and it makes the movie at least a little bit more interesting. I believe that the director Chloé Zhao is going to win the Oscar for Best Director. It's still a pretty boring movie though. Best Motion Picture of the Year, ladies and gentlemen. Don't forget to do the YouTube stuff, and thanks for watching.